Lots of poi tricks are deceptively difficult to learn, but what if I told you there are also poi tricks that are deceptively easy to learn? Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today, I want to dive into 5 poi tricks that I personally think are a lot easier than they appear to be. But before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecca, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spin Balls, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all of these awesome companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I've got down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friend of the channel, Pekha Pekkonen. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. Okay, so first up, we do just have to state that all poi tricks take some amount of effort on the part of the performer to get down. Every single poi trick takes some degree of practice, getting down in muscle memory the basic pieces of how to perform that specific move. But there are some tricks that I think are deceptive in how difficult they look as opposed to how easy they actually are to learn. Now, caveats here are that easy and hard are really relative concepts, and what's easy for one person might be incredibly difficult for another person. But all that said, I have found 5 specific poi tricks that I think, when given to people in the proper fashion that allows them to come at them in a way that really breaks down all the individual components to smaller building blocks and then building up from there, well, these 5 tricks really are pretty awesome in terms of having a more gentle learning curve than you might think. And that is not to invalidate your experience if you've had difficulties learning one or more of these tricks, but I do hope that this opens up some doors for people in terms of things that they might try that they might otherwise not. So with all that said, here are my picks for 5 really cool poi tricks that I think are way easier to learn than you might think. Number 1, pendulums. Okay, so this one's a little bit of a gimme just because a lot of people kind of do pendulums unintentionally when they're first picking up a set of poi, but stick with me because there is an important lesson to be learned here. Pendulums, and especially the big full arm version known as extendulums, are a great way to begin learning how to apply different amounts of momentum to the poi as you're moving them around. Pendulums are a great stepping stone not only to learning how much energy you need to put into the poi to keep it spinning, but also to getting to a place in spinning that I personally think is a great goal to attain, which is thinking of the poi as being an extension of your arm and therefore your body. I think they're also a great tool for beginning to learn how to do transitions with poi because 0 points, that is the most common tool that we use for changing poi timing and direction, are built right into them. If you pay close attention to either end of an extendulum, you'll note that there's a place where the momentum of the poi just stops entirely. This is a great opportunity to switch back and forth between, say, together same and split time opposites, or split time same direction and together opposites, both of which are great practice for when you learn how to do this eventually with flowers. And if all these terms seem like Greek to you, but you're not actually Greek, I've got you covered. I've got a beginner poi course that I will link to down in the description as well as up in the cards if you're watching this video on YouTube. Cool, so with pendulums out of the way, next it's time to talk about number 2, poi butterflies. Alright, so I will fully confess that when I was first learning how to do butterflies, they were a constant source of frustration for me. And like many people out there that possess exterior gonads, they were also a physical challenge as I was trying to learn them too. Yikes. But here's what I didn't know at the time. There's actually a cheat code to learning how to do butterflies that starts with just performing them with your arms. Once you get comfortable doing this, you can switch to then using the poi as extensions of your arms and then work your way down to producing smaller and smaller circles until you're just producing those circles from your wrists and hands. And when you learn butterflies this way, they go surprisingly smoothly. This was a trick that I spent weeks, if not months, trying to learn how to do when I was first coming up back in the late 2000s. And now I give this to people and they have it down within a single lesson, usually within 15 to 20 minutes. That's pretty awesome. And of course, this same technique can be used to get down thread the needles as well. Once again, you just start by swapping out which hand is on top each time your arms produce those butterflies. And then, again, switch to having the poi being an extension of your arms, and then work your way down to just doing circles with your wrists and hands. Voila! If you'd like to learn more on the technique of how to do this, I have a tutorial on it that I will link to down in the description as well as up in the cards. And yes, that is going to become a theme in this video. Alright, so with pendulums and butterflies out of the way, now I want to tackle something that I only just recently learned could be made much more simple. Number 3, windmills. So, like butterflies, this was also a trick that caused me an enormous amount of frustration when I was first coming up. Originally, I was told to learn this trick by simply performing a corkscrew and leaning over into it and then straightening up my body, adjusting the planes with the top of my torso and head. And the problem is that the momentum and orientation of the planes relative to your body changes completely when you make this adjustment. It actually made this move way more confusing for me. But I was rescued just a couple years ago when a Russian poi spinner showed me an easier way to get this down. As it turns out, we can also get down windmills by turning our upper body over to stage left and sweeping our left hand down and around and then bringing it to rest back behind our left shoulder. Then we do the same thing with the right hand, sweeping it down and around and bringing it to rest behind our right shoulder. We turn our upper body over to stage right and then let the left hand sweep back out, followed by the right. We then turn our upper body back over to stage left, and again, sweep and stall, left, right, turn to stage right, sweep and stall, left, right, and if we try to do this as one smooth continuous motion, we get a windmill out of it. Who knew? I really wish that this had been the method by which I'd been taught how to do this way back in the day, because it would have saved me a lot of unnecessary frustration. Seriously, big thanks to Katya Stakhanova for passing that lesson on, because it wound up being worth a mint. You're awesome, Katya. Okay, so for these latter two tricks, they are going to require a little bit of prerequisite poi knowledge, but stick with me here because I still think that they're easier to learn than might be first apparent. Starting with number 4, anti-spin flowers. Okay, so seriously, put down the pitchforks because yes, I swear there is actually an easier way to learn anti-spin flowers. It's not the way that I first learned how to do them, but it is out there. These involve starting off with linear isolations. That is, you just stall the poi down your center line and up your center line and sweep your hand back and forth from side to side of your body. When this gets to feel comfortable, you just open up and have your hand go down as the poi goes down and go up as the poi goes up. The result being a diamond mode 4-petal anti-spin flower. I truly wish that I knew that this approach to learning anti-spin flowers existed when I first started to learn them. I really struggle with my anti-spins, not the least of which because I couldn't resolve the difference between a box mode and a diamond mode anti-spin flower, and this exercise would have been a godsend for me. Anti-spin flowers have definitely had a reputation for being challenging, especially when compared with their in-spin brethren. But I have to say, using this method, I've been able to teach people who barely knew how to spin how to do anti-spin flowers, and without having to go through that block of thinking, oh, this is a difficult trick for me to learn. It's amazing what people can do earlier on in their flow journeys. Cool, so before I share with you my final pick for a poi trick that is far easier than people think it is, I do have a favor to ask. If you've made it this far, it probably means that you're into poi tricks, and if that's the case, then guess what? I produce a lot of videos on that topic. So if you wouldn't mind giving me a like and a subscribe on this here video, that means that you'll be the first to see it when I upload something new. We both win. Thanks in advance. And without further ado, my final pick for a poi trick that is far easier than people think it is, number 5, ZAN'S Diamond. Okay, now I'm really going to be ducking people throwing rotting fruit and things at me, but stick with me here. I swear there's a good reason why it's on this list. Without a doubt, the most popular workshop that I teach is one that involves learning how to do linear extensions, that is just moving the hand back and forth as the poi spins around it, and gradually building up more and more complex patterns, from box mode 4-petal anti-spin flowers to triquetras, to starting to create things that look like arrows, and then finally arriving at ZAN'S Diamond. Thing is, using this method, I have been able to teach hundreds, if not thousands of people, some of whom had just started learning to spin poi, how to do ZAN'S Diamond in under an hour. Which is really cool, right? Because I was several years into my poi journey before I learned how to do ZAN'S Diamond, and certainly when I started up my poi journey, it was thought of as being probably the single hardest trick you could possibly do with poi. Which makes me feel good to be able to break it down for people in a way that makes it more accessible. If I can teach people how to do this trick inside of an hour, hour, you can too. And if you'd like to learn more about that method that I have for teaching ZAN'S Diamond, I'm going to go ahead and leave a link to a series of videos that I did on linear extensions down in the description as well as up in the cards if you're watching on YouTube. And hopefully that will help you not just get down ZAN'S Diamond, but a whole host of other awesome poi tricks and patterns as well. So if nothing else, I hope that the big takeaway here is that with a bunch of poi tricks, you know, sometimes their bark is worse than their bite. Play around with a trick before it becomes something that becomes either too big or too intimidating. You'd be surprised what you'll find sometimes. What poi tricks wound up surprising you, either for being really challenging or being less challenging than you were expecting? Leave me a comment and let me know. This video would not be possible without the kind support of all of these awesome people right here. These are my Flow patrons over on Patreon. They and the people listed down in the description help to make this video and all the videos on this channel possible. Thank you one and all for your very generous support. And if you out there watching are not currently a supporter but you'd like to become one, you can do that by heading on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up. There, you can get access to a whole host of awesome rewards. But even better than that, you'll be helping me out in my mission to bring poi spinning and flow arts to the whole wide world and help people connect with their bodies and their brains. So go check that out, please and thank you. And if you'd like to check out some other videos I've done listing off my top 5 poi tricks in various different categories, I will include a link to a playlist of those down in the description as well as up here on screen if you happen to be watching this video on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to get out and flow today, and I will see you with a brand new video real soon. Take care now. Peace.